today's video, we are going to be going over the basics of Tkinter. So ideally what Tkinter is it's a Python module that deals with graphics, text labels, and animations. So in this video, we are going to be going over the basics on how to import it into our Python script and how to actually use it for, let's say, game design, basic project design, like making a basic graphical calculator and other things. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to make your own Tkinter Python projects. So how we're going to import our module inside this Python script is by typing in from Tkinter import, and we're going to add an asterisk at the end. So this line of code basically allows us to import the module Tkinter inside our Python scripts. So how we're going to start it is by making a Tkinter window. Ideally, a window is basically a canvas, a place where you're going to put your information, your images, your text labels, and other information. So how we're going to make our window is by starting with what we're going to call our window. And we're going to call our window main window, just like this. And we're going to say main window is equal to capital letter T and small letter k, just like that. Main window is equal to T K with a set of parentheses. Now to actually run this window, we're going to type in the name of our window, which is main window, and we're going to type in dot main loop. So ideally, when we run our code, we're expected to have a window that actually functions and runs. So as we run our code, this is going to be our window. And as you can see, it's very small, but has the title TK right here. So let me get back to explaining what these two lines of code do. So the first line is basically importing our Tkinter module, and this other line is basically declaring our window, our canvas, where we're going to put our information. And the last line is running our window. Without this line of code, our window won't be able to show. So now we're going to learn about what we can add to our window, what can make our window unique and different. So we're going to learn about window attributes. How we're going to do this is by typing the name of our window. We can give this window certain attributes. Let's say I want to change its title. We type in our name of our window, which is main window, title, and then a set of parentheses, and we're going to add in quotation marks, and we're going to say the name of our window. Let's say I want to call my window main window. This is our main window, just like that. And we can also add a geometry, which is the size of our window. We can say main window dot geometry and open and close set of parentheses, quotation marks, and then we're gonna say 400 small letter x. This is not the multiplication symbol, it's a small letter x by 300. So this is the x-axis, which is the horizontal line, and this is the y-axis, which is the vertical axis. So we can also add, let's say, background color to our window. We're going to type in main window dot config. You can type it in full, but I prefer just saying config and a set of parentheses. We're going to say bg, which stands for background, is equal to, let's say, gray. I want my background to be gray. And when we run our code, we're gonna see our window having the title main window, having a geometry of 400 by 300, and having a background color of gray. And as you can see, this is our main window. And one last attribute I can show you, which mainly you won't be able to use a lot, but depending on the type of project you want to make, ideally you can use it. So you see this maximize button right here, which puts the whole screen, our window, into full screen right here. There is a special function that we can declare main window, and we can say resizable. So this declares whether our window is resizable or not. And if we want it not to be resizable, we can say false in all caps. And when we run our code, ideally our window will have the same properties, but will not be able to be resized. We cannot maximize it or resize it from any of these sides. So as you can see, I'm trying to click the maximize button, but nothing is happening. And I cannot resize it from these other angles or any corners. And that's a fancy attribute you might need to know. So Next, we're gonna start learning about how we can put information into our window. Let's say you want to add text, images, or anything related to that. After our window attributes, we're going to declare, let's say I want to add text to our window. Without graphics, if we wanted to output text, we're going to say print, this is the main window, and this is our text. This is without graphics. But if we want to use Tkinter graphics, we're first going to declare our label name. So we're going to say label name is equal to label, capital letter L, label parentheses. So the first parameter that enters into this label parentheses is the name of the window we are putting the label inside. In this case is main window, just like that. And in the second parentheses is going to be the text, which is equal to, we say text is equal to open quotation marks, and we're gonna say this is my window, close quotation, close parentheses, and this is our label. But just like this, our label will not show in our window. We have to give it a certain property known as label name dot pack. So ideally what this dot pack function does is it places our label or anything like a button. As long as we add dot pack, it will place it inside our window and it will be center aligned. So ideally when we run our code, we're expecting to see our label which says this is my window right here at the top and is aligned centrally because of the dot pack function. Let's say we wanted to place our label somewhere specific. We'd say label name dot place, and with this inside the first parameter we're going to set this to be 0, which is at the far left, and the y-axis will be set to be at, let's say, 30, which is a bit below the top of the window. Now when we run our code, we expect it to be at the far left and a bit below the top, just like this, and our label says this is my window. So our label can also have attributes, just like the way our window has attributes. And to add these attributes, we're going to say label name, which is the name of our label, and we're going to say dot config. So we can start off with, let's say we want to add a background to it. We're gonna say bg is equal to, I want the background to be gray so that we don't see that outer box. And for the actual text color, it's something called foreground. So you can say FG, which stands for foreground, is equal to, I want it to be, let's say, white. And we can address a font to it too. We say font is equal to, now this is a very important step that even I confused when I was still learning the Tkinter module. When you say font is equal to, after the equal sign, you're supposed to add a pair of open and close parentheses again. So in the first parentheses parameter, we're going to add the name of the font, and I'm going to say Arial just like this. Then after the quotation marks of the font name, we're going to add the font size. I'm going to put it at 20. And at the end of the parentheses, you can say, I want it to be bold. You can say you want it to be italic, or you want it to be underlined. And this one doesn't matter the order as long as it's after the size and the name. So you can have all of them at once, or you can have them one by one. So just like this, we have configured our label inside Tkinter, and we are able to add it inside our window. Now, if we run our code and we seem to get an error, unknown font style underlined. So the error I made here is underline. It's supposed to be underline if I remember correctly, and run this code. Oh no, I've added two right there. So it's the font name, the font size, whether you want it to be bold, italic, or underlined, just like this. And ideally when we run our code now, we should be getting the label that has a gray background, white foreground, bold, italic, and underlined, just like this. So ideally the Tkinter module is very simplified and could be easy to make mistakes with. So right here I'm going to use the dot pack function instead, because I want the title to be centrally aligned at the top of the window. So this is our label and it says this is my window, just like that. So Something else we can add inside our window is buttons. Ideally, buttons are something users can just click and it will perform a specific function. So how we're going to add our buttons is, let's say we first name our button. So this is our button name, just like this. And we say is equal to button with a capital letter B. First parameter is the name of the window it will go inside, which in this case is going to be main window. Second parameter is the text of the button, and I'm going to say click me with an exclamation mark, just like that. And this is the name of our button, and we're going to say button name dot pack, just like that. So when we run our code, we're expecting to see a button packed inside our main window, just below the text label right here, and it says click me. So we can click this button and you see the click animation, but nothing will happen. So let's just configure our button with attributes, and we'll say button name config, just like this. BG is equal to, I'm gonna set it to white, and the FG will be black. So buttons can also have a font, just like this, the same way we did with our label, and we're going to say the font will be Comic Sans S, and the font size will be 15, and the button will be bold, just like that. And now when we run our code, we're expected to see these changes inside the button, and ideally this is our button. We can click it, but it will have no functionality at all. Another attribute we can add before we learn about functionality is something called active background and active foreground. So as you know, background is the color of the background of the element that we're placing. So what active background essentially is the background that the button will become while it is being clicked, and active foreground is the color the button will become while it is being clicked. So let me say active background is equal to, I'm gonna set it to blue, and active foreground is equal to, I'm gonna set this to be orange, just like that. So ideally what this is supposed to do is when we click it, the color is going to change. The active background will change to blue, and the active foreground is going to change to something else. And the color name orange, I had a typo right there, and I'm going to run it again. So active background is the background of the back, is basically the color of the background of the button, and active foreground is the color of the text of the button. So when I click this button, as you can see, the active background here is set to blue, and the active foreground is set to orange. So immediately I let go, it will go back to its default colors, and when I click it again, it will go back to the active background and active foreground, just like this. And you can hold it for as long as you want, and it will keep on having the orange and blue active background and foreground. Now to actually add functionality to our button. To add functionality, what we have to do is create a function. So a function in Python, for most of you that already know basics or a bit of Python, you know how to make a function. So a function is basically a container of a set of information that only runs when called for. Same, my function, to start it, we're going to say def, which is short for define. Then we're going to name our function button click with a set of parentheses and a full colon. So when we have this, we're going to say print but click, which means the button has been clicked. So this is our function, define button click. So when the button is clicked, it's going to print button clicked. Now, how do we connect this function to our button? We're going to go over to our button name. The two ways to do this. We can do this where we first have the button name right here, and we can put a comma and say command is equal to button underscore click, and we do not have to add a set of parentheses here because it's already correct just like this. When you add a set of parentheses, it automatically becomes wrong. So the best advice I can give you there is not to add parentheses. So when we run our code, our button now has a function that will print button clicked in the terminal. So when I click the button, we're going to have a button clicked text right here in the terminal. Click, 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 and we can click it as much as we want, and we'll keep on having the button clicked right there in the terminal. let's say we wanted this button to do something that created graphics or anything like that. So we go over to our function right here, and let's say we want to add a label or let's say text to our window. So when the button is clicked and we want to add something to our window, we can declare new label. New label is equal to label, and let's say it's going to be in main window, and the text is going to be button clicked, just like this, button clicked. And we want this button clicked to show up in the main window. So we're going to say new label. Let's configure our label. New label.config bg is equal to, I want it to be gray because it's a label and it looks better when it matches the background. The foreground will be, let's follow the AI suggestion and say it will be yellow. The font, however, is going to be Arial, and the size will be, let's say, 20, and I'll make it italic, just like this. Next, we're going to go down, and to add this label to our main window, we're going to say new label dot pack, and just like that, when the button is clicked, our new label is going to be added to our main window. As simple as that. So Tkinter module is not that complicated, and as we click it, we get the button click function. But something you need to know is, if I was to click this button again, the text would show up below the button and not directly where it appeared at first. So if I click it again, it will show up below because we're using the dot pack function. And this only arranges them going downwards and continuously going downwards, not in one exact location. So the more I click it, the lower it goes until the window just can't do it anymore, and they'll appear below the window. We just can't see it anymore because we cannot resize it. So if you want it to appear in one specific place, we use the dot place function right here, and to say x is equal to, I'd say 100, and y is equal to 200, just like that. So when we run our code, our text is only supposed to appear in one specific location, no matter how many times we click the click me button. So we click it once, there is our text. We click it again, and it will always be in the same place as much as we click it, and there will be no change whatsoever to it. And that's basically it with buttons and labels inside the Tkinter module. We can add some special looks to the button. Let's say I want the border of the button to look unique. I can go over to the end here and say border will be equal to 10 pixels. Even though that's way too much, but this will really show you a difference on how the border is going to look for the buttons. So when I click run, you're going to see our click me button having this specific rectangular shape to it, like a 3D pixelated module border to it. And when I click it, it will have the same border just like this, and our functionality is still there. Basically, it has a main purpose just to add looks to it. And that's the basics of Tkinter. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.